What's going on, you guys? This is your boy RBG, aka The Random Black Gamer, bringing you a video on Michael Bay's upcoming Transformers movie. Since we are patiently waiting to get more news and details from the official source, that being Paramount and Hasbro, I thought it would be cool to just come up with a list of characters that I want to see from both factions, which are the Autobots and the Decepticons, as well as any of the other teams that are going to be going up against the good guys, because you know how these movies like to do. They tend to bring on other obstacles that the Autobots are going to have to deal with, which includes the humans. But yeah, I just want to keep things centered around the robots because they are the stars of the show and they deserve all the attention, and hopefully they get that this time around, because that's something that we really want to see, man. We want to see the robots that we grew up watching, and we want to see them actually get some characterization. But with all that said, let's just talk about the characters that I think should make it into this movie, which are a lot, and we're going to kick things off with the Autobots. Now, I just want to disclose that I'm not going to be naming off characters such as Optimus and Bumblebee because it's a given that they're going to be in the movie. They are the flagship players, and we know that they're going to be at the forefront. I'm also making it a point not to mention any other characters that we saw at the end of the movies that we know are still alive. I only want to focus my attention on characters who I felt like should have been in these movies and really need to be in this upcoming one, or any other Transformers movie that's going to be directed by somebody other than Michael Bay. But the first Autobot we have is Cliffjumper, who I consider the TF Multiverse's punching bag, because for whatever reason this guy always tends to bite the bullet and he never gets to fully shine in any universe that he's featured in. But this time he actually does get to do that, and hopefully he can take the spotlight off of Bumblebee, because I feel like that's a character that's oversaturated, even still in the spotlight from characters such as Optimus. And I think I speak for a lot of the Transformers fan base when I say we have gotten tired of it. We're tired of the voice box, we're tired of the childish kiddie nature of the character that's not necessarily true to what we grew up watching. So I think the next best option would be Cliffjumper, because Cliffjumper, he is a very cool character in his own right, and I feel like we can actually give him something to work with. Not to mention that unlike B, he's a no-nonsense Autobot who loves springing into action. He's kind of a hothead, but that's what makes him stand out from his yellow look-alike. But if for whatever reason he doesn't make the cut, we can always look forward to seeing him in the upcoming fan film Rise of Unicron, so be on the lookout for that. But anyways, the next Autobot I have is Sunstreaker, who just so happens to be the twin brother of Sideswipe. Yeah, I just thought I could add somebody that's a relative to another Autobot we've seen in the past, such as Sideswipe from Transformers Revenge of the Fallen and Transformers Dark of the Moon. Unlike his brother, who is a cool, calm, and collective Autobot, Sunstreaker is the polar opposite. He's more of a sociopathic maniac who loves brutalizing any Decepticon that he can get his hands on. Given the fact that the only other robot that he got along with was his twin brother, it would add so much dynamic to the group, because he would constantly butt heads with the other Autobots, and he is very quick to voice his opinion and let people know when they're slowing him down. So yeah, this is definitely a character that I want to see in the movie somewhere, and let him actually talk about his brother. Maybe even have him blame the Autobots for allowing Sideswipe to die. But moving on, the next Autobot I have on my list is Blur, who is essentially the Autobot speedster. If you guys have seen the first Transformers movie, you know what this guy is all about. He's all about moving fast as well as talking fast, which is something I'm not sure that they'll actually add into the live action movie, since this is something that they're trying to ground in real life. And having a robot move and talk like one of those speakers in an auction would be a lot to add to him in this particular setting. But I just hope they retain that he is a very fast character and he can actually do a lot, such as being a capable fighter and paralyzes enemies with his electro laser. But moving on, the next character we have is Blaster, who I feel like should have been in the movie as soon as Soundwave was introduced into the live action universe, because he's for all intents and purposes Soundwave's counterpart. The guy can transform into a boombox, not to mention that he is a robot of the culture and is very much enthralled in the world of hip hop and R&B, which is very similar to what we saw with Jazz. And I feel like a brother bot is missing, man. They are lacking a brother in the Autobot group, and they have been doing that since Transformers 2007. So I would definitely love to see Blaster up in here. He has a wide array of sound related abilities, such as his Sonic Blast as well as his EMP gun that disables his enemies. His body also doubles as a radio communications to keep in tabs with the Autobots and send out messages to them from 4,000 miles away. Not to mention that since he is just like Soundwave, he can actually deploy his own cassette minions to do his dirty work. But anyways, the next Autobot I have on this list is Ultra Magnus, which is a character that we have heard a lot of murmurings about that's going to appear in this upcoming movie, and a character who I believe should have been in one of the Michael Bay movies. The closest thing that we got to that was the leaks that said that Sentinel Prime was going to be Ultra Magnus based on Ultra Magnus's name being on Sentinel Prime's concept arts, which was just a way for Michael Bay to throw off any fans who were trying to figure out who the character actually was. Anyways, I feel like Ultra Magnus would be a good addition to have to the live action Autobot roster because he could be a second in command to the big bot Optimus himself and actually be able to keep up with Optimus because he is just as big, if not bigger than Optimus, not to mention that he can transform into his own type of 18-wheeler and take down some of the tougher Decepticons that they have to deal with. He comes equipped with a photon rifle that can blast a hole through a Decepticon's chest, as well as his Magnus hammer that sometimes gets substituted for the Forge of Solus. Those are some very effective things in his arsenal, and this guy would definitely be a fan favorite to those who are casuals that have never heard of his name. So definitely add him in there, Michael Bay. But next up we have the overly cautious Red Alert, and this guy is somebody that I have been wanting to see in the live action film verse for the longest time, and I initially thought that he was Barricade. I know a lot of people thought that Barricade was actually Prowl, which is another police car, but I was thinking that this was the live action version of Red Alert, because if you guys are familiar with Red Alert, then you know that he is like the Autobot security. He makes sure that people know when danger is coming, not to mention that he did have a police variant in Transformers Armada, and I felt like that would have been a very cool character to have in the Bayverse canon. And I also feel like this could be somebody that they can actually utilize as a police officer that's actually a good guy, as opposed to the bad guys who always assume some kind of military alt mode or something like a police car. Yeah, I feel like the Autobots can have a police car because they've actually worked with the military back when they were with Ness, so why not? I also like the idea of the Armada version, which was a very scarred Autobot who lost his hand in the Decepticon Autobot war, and it's kind of a pacifist who likes to sit back but doesn't mind springing into action when his colleagues are in danger. So yeah, man, I want to see this guy in it and make it the Armada version. But moving on, guys, the next group of individuals that I have on this list are gonna strictly pertain to aerial bots, because I feel like the Autobots, they're strictly just down on the ground in vehicle form. They don't get a lot of love when it comes to flight. Like, the only exceptions to that are people like Jetfire, Optimus Prime with his jet powered mode, as well as Stratosphere from Transformers Rise of the Beast, but he didn't necessarily participate on the battlefield. He only participated in transporting the Autobots to different locations around the globe. So yeah, I feel like we need more characters who can fly in the Autobots, because the Decepticons, they're stacked with a lot of characters who wield the ability to fly. And I just feel like we need to have some people on the good guys team that can even the odds. That's why I'm going to be adding in the first aerial bot, which is Silverbolt, a character who you would think would love taking to the skies, but actually has a huge fear of heights, which is due to his origins of being created from a low altitude cargo transport vessel. And you would think because of this flaw that would make him the weakest on the aerial bot team, but it's actually the opposite. Because he shows humility, unlike the other aerial bots who act like jerks, Optimus actually appointed him as the leader of the group, which didn't really sit right with the other aerial bots, since they were the quote-unquote daredevils and loved taking to the skies and springing into action, as opposed to being more reserved and sticking to the missions like Silverbolt liked to do. Something that I would love to see is if they actually take the best of both worlds and they give us the G1 Silverbolt with the Beast Wars aesthetic, because the design is cool, and I feel like him being fused with an eagle and a wolf would add so much to his backstory of being this character that's capable of flying, but since he has the wolf-like nature, he fears that height. So yeah, that's just something that I would go with. But moving on, the next character that I'm going to add from the Aerial Bot Coalition would be Air Raid, which is a character that actually does exist in the Bayverse, or at least in the expanded Bayverse from one of the video games and the comics. If you guys remember, he was featured in Revenge of the Fall in the video game, as well as Dark of the Moon as a secondary character that you can play with online. And I just feel like he's another one of those characters that gets overlooked, and I think he would be a good fit for the live action universe. He's said to be the most fearless amongst the aerial bots, not to mention that he transforms into a F-15 Eagle that can fly at a Mach speed of 2.5, and he carries air-to-air heat-seeking missiles and uses torque rifles whose beams applies 80,000 psi of rotational force. But above all else, he is one of the most fun-loving Autobots, and I think a lot of fans who aren't familiar with him will really like him. But moving on, the next aerial bot that we have is Fireflight, a character who I think is the most impressionable among the group, especially given the fact that the aerial bots were given personalities that required them to learn and grow and make their own decisions. It's one of the reasons why they originally admired the Seekers and their flight capabilities and looked down on the Autobots due to their lack of flying. And I feel like this should be one of the selling points behind the group, just showing that the Autobots had a hard time getting them to join their group to help them in battle, but they ultimately win the aerial bots over and they join them. Anyways, Fireflight is one of those characters that's a little more on the innocent side. You know, he loves admiring the scenery when he's taking flight. He also tends to space out from time to time, which causes the Decepticons to get the drop on him, and you know, his other aerial bots don't like that about him, but he more than makes up for it with his flammable fire fog missiles and his photon displacer gun that basically affects the sight of his enemies by distorting the light waves. But next up, we got Skydive, the resident bookworm and historian who would rather read about epic battles than actually partaking in them. But it's because of this inquisitive nature that he is one of the most skilled flyers out there in the skies, a master aerial tactician that will blow you away if you take him lightly. And last but certainly not least is Slingshot. You know what they say, the smallest character has the biggest mouth, and that's the case for Slingshot. This guy loves bragging about his exploits to cover up his insecurities of being the smallest member in the aerial bot group. But he isn't just all talk, he can back up what he says, and he's actually the sharpshooter of the group, coming equipped with a neutron rifle. But anyways guys, that's it for the group. I also want to go ahead and add in the character Superion, who just so happens to be a combiner that's made up of all the aerial bots. Yeah, I thought this would be a great character to have because I actually have a Decepticon that I will be talking about that I'm going to be adding to this list that I think will be more than enough for Superion to handle, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, this is another first that we haven't seen in the live action movies, right? We haven't really seen an Autobot combiner. We're not talking about two characters like Jetfire and Optimus combining together because those were just Jetfire's parts. We're just talking about this hive-minded character consisting of different components or different Autobots joining forces to stop a even greater force. So yeah, that's who I would love to see. And once again, this is just a dream list, man. I'm pretty sure that this thing isn't gonna see the light of day in Michael Bay's film, but it would be awesome to come back and see this video if it just so happens to be fulfilled. But what are some characters that you would love to see for the upcoming Michael Bay Transformers film? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, I ask that you like or dislike the video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. But if you really enjoyed this video, it would help me out tremendously if you shared it with all your friends and followers on all the different social media outlets. Sharing really makes a difference. But once again, this is your boy RBG, aka the Random Black Gamer, signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.